Hi there, I'm Melissimo, and even though I look like I'm getting ready to go out for Valentine's Day, I'm actually here to talk to you about October. In fact, I'm here to talk to you about this book is for October. Just in case you don't know, I have a story that I'm working on titled This Book is for October. I started it last year with the intention of giving it to my sister as a gift for Halloween. I've been very open about this story on my channel. I have an entire playlist you can go watch with my whole writing process. I talk in depth about the story. I have a whole video where I walk you through what was the outline, although the story has changed a bit by this point. This is why I'm checking in. I have 3 people who have agreed to beta read for me, and I told them I would give them the story on July 1st. It's June 24th, which means I have 1 week to get the draft into shape where it is appropriate for beta readers to look at it and it wouldn't just be kind of a waste of their time. Now, I did a full reread of the story about 6 weeks ago and was really thrilled with it, even though I recognized there were some major plot holes. For example, and what I'm about to say might not make much sense to you if you haven't watched my previous playlists, one of the biggest plot holes is that I never explain really why Matthew, the love interest, ever came to town. What was he doing there? The book never says. I knew the entire time. I forgot to add the chapter where that was all explained. And there were some other things, just some relationship dynamics between the sisters and family members that I wanted to tweak. I, of course, am always looking to make it more Halloween-y, more aesthetic, because ultimately that's the point of the story. 6 weeks ago, I did a reread of it, and now once or twice a week, I spend a couple hours just going through and making small tweaks and making fine-tuned edits. And I thought it was okay, but then I got COVID and just a million things. May was such a disaster, into early June was such a disaster. So my progress on the revision has been quite slow, and now I'm in a real time crunch. The big thing is I need to include a bit of an expositional chapter where certain mysteries are solved right before the 3rd act begins. That chapter is certainly going to be a task to write, but I really do think once I get it written, it will be, a couple more hours worth of work just tuning through the ending, and then I can send it off to betas. Yeah, I just wanted to come in here and give you a little bit of an update. The rest of this video is going to be a vlog as I attempt to finish these revisions, write this extra chapter, get through roughly another 100 pages of edits, all within a week, when the first 150 pages took me 6 weeks. Yikes. Either way, I'm documenting it. You're here for it. Let's see how it goes. Hello, it is Monday, June 27th, and I am here to check in regarding Tibifo. This weekend, I edited a bit. I didn't film because I couldn't find my camera. Amazing. But now it is Monday the 27th, and I wanted to specifically say what my strategy is for the next 5 days in order to get this book off to betas on Friday evening. I said I would get it out to them on July 1st. July 1st will last for 24 hours, so I'm including July 1st in my count. Here's the strategy. Normally I use these whiteboards to plan out for my actual main story, but today / this week, This Book is for October is taking absolute precedent, and I have written down my Tibifo Panic Week schedule. I have written out which chapters I would like to have edited on which days, just as a way to give me a visualization for how much work I'm gonna need to do every day. There are some days near the end where I've planned out a little bit lighter of a day, just on the off chance that I don't get everything done at the start, and that way things can get pushed, but I'd like to really do a big push right at the start of this whole thing. That way I'm not really, I'm already scrambling, but that way I'm not really scrambling by the end. The only other thing I wanted to point out was that thankfully I have had future Wallace in mind, and so this entire rewrite I have been kind of creating a rough draft letter of all the things I'd like to talk about with my beta readers, and I just want to go through it and finalize it on Thursday, and then on Friday I'd like to do a reread of the entire story and then send it off. So that's the quick breakdown of the strategy for this week. What part of the story am I actually on? Well, if you've watched my plot breakdown video, I'm just after the part where Kate and Matthew have met the meta magic witch, and Kate has been given a concoction to help with her nightmares, which she took and had a disastrous turn of events in the woods as she was being chased by some creatures which she couldn't quite recognize and had to be rescued by Matthew. It was all very dramatic, and now that has occurred. That's what I've gotten through, which in terms of pacing means we're getting very close to the end of Act 2 and are gearing up for Act 3. Now, even though it sounds great, I feel like I'm over 2/3 of the way through this edit. The problem is it's this back half of the story that needs a lot of work, mainly because when I was writing it, I forget if I already mentioned this, but when I was finishing it up back in October, I realized there was an entire chapter that needed to be included, and I just started writing as if I had already included that chapter. And so there's a lot of plot holes and weird confusion and changes in character motivation that don't currently make sense because that chapter isn't there. And if I'm going to get any of these things done this week, I have to write that chapter today because I need to know what information I actually did include and what information then either gets repeated later on or never gets said and so needs to be included. What is this mystical chapter, you ask? It's one I didn't even talk about in the outline video because, again, I didn't realize I needed this chapter until past the point at which it was supposed to have been written. Basically, I need Matthew and Kate to go on a sort of exploratory mission to get information about the king below. And they're going to go to a library where they're going to meet a book witch or a paper witch or something like that. I haven't totally figured it out, which, you know, that's a great position to be in when you're desperate to finish off a chapter and you don't know all the details yet, but it's fine. It's going to be a very exposition heavy chapter. The library witch is going to have information on the king below, and this is where Kate's going to figure out he's potentially in danger on her birthday this upcoming Halloween, that he might have the ability to take her. Again, none of this is ever stated currently in the draft, which makes the back half seem, you know, completely incoherent unless you're me and you have it all in your head. Well, you know, vaguely in your head, because apparently I don't even have it all in my head, so whatever. Kate needs to figure out who exactly the king below is. She needs to know a little bit about his mechanics, about how he works. And this is just gonna be another great opportunity for Kate and Matthew general interaction. I do want there to be a bit more from Matthew this chapter. Matthew has been told about Kate his whole life. The king below has sent him dreams about Kate as a way to kind of reinforce who she is and her importance, and unbeknownst to king below, Matthew was falling in love with Kate through all of this. Wow, I'm like thinking it through my head right now as I talk on camera, so, and realizing it sounds like complete and utter nonsense, which is great, but that's fine. But no, it's good to talk it through. It's good to talk it through before I start writing because, you know, gotta have at least a small game plan. Anyway, no idea how much of that entire rant I'm going to actually leave in this video, but I'm gonna go ahead and get started. I'm glad that I said that all out loud though, because it's keeping it fresh in my mind. Before I write the chapter, there is one chapter that I have to read and edit, and that is what I call the Wounded Soldier chapter. It's the chapter where Kate wakes up after her attack. She's been sleeping for most of the day. Matthew has, you know, taken care of her to the best of his ability. He's also carved all the pumpkins for her, and she's extremely grateful to him. And then she realizes he's very injured, and so she heals him as well, and there's bonding and such. I haven't read through that part yet, so I'm gonna reread that. Here we go. We're gonna go ahead and get writing. I've just realized there's one more thing I need to add to my Panic Week list. I need to add a task to go through and make sure all relevant comments are resolved. And I don't know why, but this feels like the task that broke the camel's back. I think for a second I really convinced myself that I would be able to get through it all this week, but for some reason the idea of also having to go through it and resolve all the comments, I'm like, nope, cannot be done. I'm still making my way through the Wounded Soldier chapter, but I've opened up my author journal because I want to keep track of the things that I want to make sure I don't forget to mention in the upcoming brand new chapter. For example, we kind of finally have Kate discussing all of the nightmares that she's had, and it's going to be hinted that it's, you know, the king below. It's a combination of the king below sending her dreams and her as a hedge witch having kind of almost prophetic dreams. That's something I'm going to need to mention in the next chapter, that one of the king below's powers is the ability to manipulate dreams. Okay, so I've gotten past the Wounded Soldier part, and now we're in the back half of that chapter where Kate is finally about to look into her mother's book, which, you know, that's been the big mystery so far. Also, if you can't tell, I'm in full, not relaxation mode, but casual editing mode with my feet propped up on my desk. Just gonna keep trucking along. Oh my goodness. Okay, so this is the part where she is asking him to take off his shirt so she can see his wound. And I've inserted a little smiling devil emoji. I think I'm gonna leave that in for the beta readers, just in the hopes that it makes them laugh. I have officially gotten through the Wounded Soldier / Blood Magic Book Reveal chapter. I made some notes for the future chapter, and also I did spend some time going back and addressing some comments. So I'm really pleased. I'm really pleased with how that edit of that chapter went. It took me about 2 hours. Wait, did it? Or did it take me? Actually, know exactly how long it took me because I listened to this video and it's exactly an hour long, and I restarted it once and I'm 20 minutes into it. So it took me about an hour and a half, hour and 20 minutes to do all that work on that chapter. And I wasn't just like reading it, you know, I was doing active work and editing and adding in things, making things more romantic between Kate and Matthew. So that was a legitimate hour and a half of work. Given that, we can kind of make some estimates. So not including the chapter that I actually have to write because that's bound to take longer, but I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 chapters left, I think. Assuming each chapter takes me about an hour and a half, that means I have just about 10 hours worth of chapter edits left. So that feels doable in 5 days, 10 hours. But does 10 hours of chapter edits, writing a full chapter, writing a beta reader cover letter, and going through and resolving all my comments, does that feel doable? Stay tuned. It is time now for me to actually really hunker down and write this important, but not too important because I don't want to freak out myself over the pressure of it. I'm gonna write a new chapter, full drafting mode, which we all know I love to draft. So wish me luck. I'll check back in, feeling like this is definitely gonna take more than an hour and a half. If I can get this done today, then there is hope. There's hope for the rest of this week if I can get this chapter written today. But it's a big ask because it could potentially be a 5,000 word chapter, which means I'm starting a 5K day at 1:15 p.m. All right, here we go. Okay, very quick update. It is 4:45 p.m. I have written 3,281 words for the day. I've written, you know, I think it's like 7 pages in this chapter, and I've decided it's actually going to be 2 chapters, oh boy, both of which I want to get through tonight, so we'll see if that's doable. And basically I'm having a change of location because it's the end of the workday. I'm leaving the office, I'm going home. Hello, my God, folks, when I tell you I am exhausted. It is Tuesday. It's been over 24 hours since I last checked in, but don't let that fool you to assume I haven't been working, because I have. In fact, I worked so hard yesterday, desperately trying to finish this chapter, that I fell asleep at the computer. I had the computer in bed with me. I woke up this morning and it was drained of battery because I left it open all night. I've spent all day, except for a few hours that I spent taking a break, playing The Sims. I've spent all day on this chapter, which actually ended up being 2 chapters, as I said. And in total, I think it was about 8,000 words. I wrote, I think, 6,000 words yesterday and 2,000 words today, but I spent many, many hours today fixing the chapter. And it's not totally perfect yet, but it doesn't need to be perfect. It just needs to be coherent for the beta readers. And then, you know, through the process of the beta readers, it can be improved. I can now say that the chapter is finished. I am done. And I've gone through and I've taken scenes out from earlier in the book, and I've also jumped forward a couple times to go check how certain scenes play later in the book to get a feel for how this chapter really needed to flow. And it was such an effort. I don't regret skipping it last October when I was trying to finish the book. I do regret putting off writing it for this long. I will say that. My main critique of these 2 chapters that I've written over the past 2 days is that they are extremely exposition heavy. I knew that going in that was going to be an issue, but it was even more severe than I realized, and I'm not sure it's actually entertaining to read. I think it's a little bit like, whoa, okay, this fact, this fact, this fact, this fact. I've tried to sprinkle in a little bit of romance and sweet moments, but again, knowing me, they probably are just awkward and cringy, but it's okay. We're gonna just keep going. And if you are recalling my whole strategy from yesterday, because I did take 2 days to write this chapter, it does mean, you know, I didn't get to yet the 2 chapters I was meant to edit today. It is almost 8 p.m. I have been working all day, but you know, this is a push. This is Hell Week. This is, you know, this is what it is. So I am gonna push myself to try and get through at least 1 more chapter of edits. The next chapter I'm about to do is the Dumb Supper, which is where we meet Kate's sisters in person for the first time and we see a lot of their dynamic. And I'm really, really hoping it shouldn't take too long. We are behind schedule, which is why I want to push myself tonight to, you know, make up a little bit of that time, hopefully to get back on schedule by tomorrow, but we'll see. All right. That's my check-in for today, Tuesday, June 28th. I will check back in tomorrow. Bye. Hello, I'm at the ophthalmologist and I am editing Tibitho. No one can say I am not dedicated to getting this done, but I would just like to interject. I'll update later, but you know, a doctor could walk in at any minute, so I just wanted to say I just edited a phrase because I had written in the past that a certain character lips his licks. So that's how the editing's been going. Talk to you later. Hello, it is Thursday, the 30th of, whoops, started the music. The 30th of June, last day of June. I have so much to discuss. I am currently 9 pages away from being done with this Tibitho rewrite or edit, which means I'm on schedule as from the schedule that I started at the beginning of the week. It's early in the morning, it's not even 10 a.m. I could get through these 9 pages today, finalize my beta reader questionnaire, start my like quick glance reread that I wanted to do, and then send it off tomorrow at some point. But here's the thing. The more I read it, the more I worry. Especially when you're about to send something to a beta reader who you're gonna ask to analyze the story as a whole. I think it is kind of just good practice to make sure at least that the writing doesn't distract from the story as a whole, or you reduce the way the writing distracts from the story as a whole. And right now, because so much of this novel was written during like 10K days and 20K days last year, right now the writing I think is just a little bit rough, even though I think the story is there, you know, in the way that it can be there for a story that's mostly just supposed to be about the aesthetic of Halloween. And I would just hate to send it off to betas and the writing quality be so distractingly bad that it prevents them from being able to appropriately assess the quality and the entertainment value of the story itself. So this is what's gonna happen. I'm gonna finish, and then I'm gonna do a couple of search and replaces where I'm gonna go through and look at my filter words. I'm gonna keep a lookout for any crutch words like very, that, just, all those sorts of things. I also know that a phrase I use quite a bit is "it seemed like." It's another kind of filter phrase, but it's also a pull your punch phrase where I'm always like, I want to be hinting that things are this way, but I should just state that this is the way that things are. So I want to go through and check for all of those. And that's my goal today. And then tomorrow, instead of sending it off to betas, I'm gonna send it to Katie Ann to do a breakneck speed typo read through. She's gonna read it and try and catch any egregious typos, any sentences that are just absurdly obtuse in their construction. Make it so that the beta readers don't suffer, which means I'm gonna email my betas and tell them that the story is gonna be about a week late. That's the update. We're in the middle of a sprint. It's NEK Thursday in the Discord. I want to get these final 9 pages written and edited and done, so that way I can start all that other stuff. It looks like we'll be vlogging for about another week. I have no idea how long this vlog is at this point. It's probably absurd and very repetitive, but that's kind of what writing is anyway, absurd and very repetitive. Okay, I'm gonna get to work. Hello, good morning. It is still morning. It is July 5th. I'm sorry that I have not checked in for a couple of days. Basically, what the past few days have been, I sent a message out to my beta readers on Friday, letting them know that I had finished the story, but I was just aware that there was so many typos and so many grammatical errors that I couldn't in good conscience send it to them. So I sent it to Katie instead because my conscience don't care about her. She can read all of my awful crap. It's been such a great couple of days because, you know, sometimes in the evening we'll be hanging out and we'll just end up talking about Tabitho and her thoughts on it. And it's been reassuring. She's obviously been very supportive and excited over the story, which has been really nice. Last night she finished her read through. As she was editing, I was going through and confirming her edits basically just to save myself some time. I think I've only not confirmed about 100 pages worth of edits, so the last third of the book. And so I'm gonna do that, but I think I'm gonna do that within the context of my final read through. That's how I'm gonna spend a good chunk of the day today. I'm also packing because I'm leaving Texas for the foreseeable future. And so today is busy, but it's gonna be good. I'm gonna put on that pagan music YouTube video like I always do, surprise, surprise. And I'm just gonna get to work, and then tonight I'll finalize my beta letter, and then I'll send it off tomorrow before I leave for my trip. So, this is crazy. And then it'll be off, and then the vlog will be finally done, and then I can edit it and upload it hopefully by next Tuesday. It is about 8 in the evening on July 6th, and I have finished my reread, which, okay, and going through all of Katie's comments, and I am drafting my email to send to the beta readers. I'm a little nervous, I have to admit. So I have this little guy with me. Marta actually crocheted this for me and gave it to me when we met up in London back in March, which was super sweet of her. I've kept it on my desk as I write Tabitho, and it's gonna travel with me over the summer, and anytime I work on Tabitho, I'll be working on this. It was amazing. She made me this, and she also made me 2 pieces of art that were quotes from my story, and I almost cried when I opened them because I was so incredibly touched. So thank you, Marta. This little dude is giving me lots of strength to send off this email. So whenever I send emails like this for a project that I'm sending off to someone, I always like to include a little header image just to make the email a little personalized. And I've started with hello and happy July-oween, and that's gonna give you an idea for what the entire email is like. It's filled with lots of cheesy stuff like that. I actually feel a little bit bad for my beta readers because this email is so long. I think I'm gonna have to put like in the subject line, apologies for the wall of text because this is a little bit absurd. So the way I formatted my beta reader email for the most part was I broke it down into sections. First of all, I reminded them that this story is not deep. It's not meant to be deep. It has an intended audience of one. And so there's no pressure on them. They can read it very casually and give me very casual responses. I did include some sample questions for things that, you know, I would appreciate if they touched on, but ultimately no big deal. I would just love to know any thoughts whatsoever that they do have. Sorry if you hear really random noises in the background. My family is watching a movie. But I did want to share specifically the very final section of the email because this is how extra I have been. I have a whole section called Get Into the Mood where I give them suggestions for what they can do as they read this book to really, well, you know, it says it right there, get into the mood of the book. I gave them the link to that pagan music playlist that I've been listening to basically on repeat for the past year as I've written and edited this book. I mentioned my favorite brand of tea that I like to drink, a specific kind of candle that I like to burn, all just things that will even further enhance the experience, things that I intend to prepare for my sister as she reads the book. I feel like it is cheating a little bit because if you're surrounded by all these Halloween-y things, then it's easier to feel like the book you're reading is giving off Halloween vibes. But I'm not opposed to tipping the scales in my favor in this specific instance. So, and who knows if they'll actually do any of that, but I wanted to give them the option. And also, in order to encourage them to do it, I've actually decided, for those who are comfortable giving me their addresses, I've decided to send my beta readers goodie baskets. I'm gonna send them a candle, I'm gonna send them the cinnamon tea that I love, and I'm gonna send them some form of like Halloween candy or something. I haven't decided on that yet, but I'm gonna do that after I send off. Holding the pumpkin. Okay, here we go. We're just gonna do it. We're gonna edit through the email, read it probably 5 more times because of course, and then we're gonna send it off and it's gonna be good. It's gonna be great. Okay, and send. Okay, it's off to one person. Now I have to do that 2 more times. And it's been sent off to the betas. Wow, holy crap. Farewell to Biffo. See you in August. I don't have to think about you for about a month. August is when things are gonna really ramp up. I have no idea what the hell I talked about in this vlog. Truly, nothing has been less planned, less thought out, less formatted. This is gonna be a really interesting viewing experience, but there you go. That is how I did a mad dash rush to prep a book to send off to beta readers. I'm gonna go make my beta readers their goodie baskets now. And then as you can see behind me, I've packed up a whole bunch because I'm going on a very long road trip and won't be in Texas for the next 2 months. So we got it all done in the nick of time. I was late. I did want to get it done last Friday, but I'm glad that I didn't because Katie's edits were so paramount and so crucial. And I really think, you know, it makes a huge difference having things be a little bit nice for the beta readers because the beta readers are there to assess the validity of the story. They're not there to get distracted by tons and tons of typos. So I'm very grateful to Katie for fixing those for me. I'm very grateful to my beta readers, and I'm very grateful to anyone who has commented on any of my Tabifo videos and offered their ideas to help the story flourish. This might be the last Tabifo update for a bit. Yeah, it's good. It feels surreal. It's weird that it's done for now, but it's off into the ether. And with that, I shall bid you adieu. I hope you all have a fabulous rest of your July, and theoretically I will have a new video going up next Tuesday, but until then, go be happy, go be healthy, and go write. Bye.